Welcome back for another OG Show Live. Mr. Randall, how you doing?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Reel Down.
Welcome back to another episode of Bass Fishing for News.
Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to once again the Bass Kayak and Beers.
Brother, this is the final cast.
Another segment of Chasin the Tide, your saltwater connection on the PaddleN'FIn.
Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Feather and Fur. Your host, Brad.
Welcome back to the Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Crystal.
Hey, welcome back to Off the Water.
Susie Q here with Adventures of Outdoor Woman podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rusty Hook Kayak Fishing Podcast.
We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Eastport Marina on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake. For all your lodging, kayaking, go to eastport.info. Yak Gadget for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com.
Hey, here we are. Hey, welcome back to another edition of Chasing the Tide. It's your saltwater connection on the PaddleN'FIn Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dustin Nichols. Tonight, got a couple of my buddies. Got one of my Jackson Kayak teammates, my tournament fishing partner, and one of my friends, fishing cohorts, fishing buddy, tournament competitor extraordinaire, Kevin Wheels, along with my teammate, Michael Fiorenza. What's up, fellas?
What's happening, gentlemen?
Rolling. What's going on, Kevin? You good?
What's going on?
Oh, it's
I'm
going.
good.
Going. Yeah, we just wanted to we're going to recap a little event we just had this past weekend. I wanted to bring some of the competitors on, and we kind of want to get a little insight, but I want to recap everything, give props out to the finishers there, the top finishers. The wind played a big detail, for everybody that don't know, if you're listening and didn't have an idea, we did a multi-species event, a 2-day event. The first day you fished for your best 3 redfish with an 18 to 32 inch slot, CPR. You got an identifier code, and you measured your best 3 fish, submitted them for day 1. And then day 2, we fished on a lake here in Central Texas, and we had our best 5 bass with a minimum of 12 inches. So the wind played a factor for sure on some of this stuff. But yeah, we had a, decent turnout considering there was other events going on, and we had some people put some fish on the board, pretty dang cool. So overall thoughts, Mike, what was your overall thoughts on the event, combining species and giving
I dig it. I like it. It's same, my thoughts on inshore tournaments too. If you have more than just redfish or more than just trout and you're fishing for multi-species, it makes it harder on the angler. More decisions to make on the water, and you got to work through that puzzle. So I like it. I like the redfish, greenfish, but I also, prior to the saltwater side, was fishing for bass.
Right.
So it's amazing how much you forget, and then it's amazing how much you remember. And it's this emotional roller coaster of trying to fish for greenfish after you're so used to going after redfish all the time. So,
yeah, they do have some tendencies and stuff, but yeah, that's why I wanted to bring Kevin on. Kevin finished fourth place. He got a decent little, caught some bass that morning. I think he was one short of a 5 fish limit. He did good out there. We kind of sent him on his way on bass drop and helped him out, a little bit. And he actually had a couple good days in the water leading up to the tournament. How that those days ahead of the tournament that you got out there, how much did that boost your confidence going into this?
Man, it was pretty significant. I'm a saltwater guy, so that's foreign waters for me. I've been asking you guys a ton of questions, but being able to hit that lake up the previous weekend and actually land, 6 bass, that's it. For me, that's more than I caught in my entire life all in one day. And
Right.
So it was a good feeling. But man, that event was fun. It was a lot of fun, and we all have our comfortable waters that we like to fish. For me, it was saltwater, and a few of the guys, it was freshwater, right? And so, man, I think it's having a competition, to test you on both sides, is
a challenge.
Yeah, it sets those parameters. It forces you to really dial it in and focus. And I learned so much. I learned so much on the weekend before, and then on tournament day. From you guys and asking the questions. But just my time out there, I was really focused with those parameters and everything to be kind of tuned into what I was doing. So it was a good experience, man. And I'm already looking forward to the next one. I'm planning on hitting up a pond this weekend. You know what I mean? It's going to be freshwater.
Well, that's the thing. Like there's days where those lakes in Central Texas right there, Fayette, Bastrop, and all those, you'll have 15, 20 on the coast, and you'll have 5 to 10 up there. So there's days you might not be, fishing down on the coast, and you can sneak away for a couple hours in the morning there and get you in a good little session and figure them out. And they're power plant lakes, so they're fishable all year long. The water kind of maintains a little bit. They change their patterns, kind of change a little bit. They do spawn early in those lakes and everything too. But there's quite a few decent lakes right there in that area. There's another one around also, Long Decker is what they call it. That's another good lake with, the hydrilla, the eelgrass, and the reeds. Power fishing. You gotta finesse stuff in there every now and then, but that lake, them fish's metabolism, them things are high strung like me. Them fish are high strung like Dustin in that lake,
Maybe
so
not that
like,
high strung.
I don't know, man. They was coming out and they was eating that morning. And that's the thing about that lake there. Decker could have been an option for sure, but Fayette, just like what we had happen during the tournament weekend, we had it was gusting 30 on Saturday. Actually, somebody went missing out of Port O'Connor Saturday in a little sitting top Pelican, with no lights. Apparently, somebody said that they didn't even have a paddle. They just were like, I don't know the full story to it. I'm not really getting into it, but it blew. By the time I got off the water, it was blowing 30 on Saturday. The same thing was Sunday. By the time we were doing awards, it was blowing 25, over 25.
Oh, easy. Sustained at
that. And then we fished up until the last minute because we had an option to launch on the south end of the lake, in which people were like, oh, a bass trap. I said, whatever. Dude, if I'd have put every fish in the boat that I lost, I'd have been mid-90s. Easy. I had a freaking giant, dude, just pull the old over-under behind you.
You set up well on that lake. I mean, you've won a tournament on that lake.
I won a few tournaments. I passed some checks on that lake. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny with the coast to the freshwater stuff. You guys had no wind in the morning, right? On Saturday.
Yep.
Y'all, it was blowing 20 on you. And
Dwayne and I showed up, and it was white capping and blowing 20 already, and it didn't let up all day long. I mean, we still
put 2 fish on the board. Mike had a catch within 10 minutes to go, and his photo timestamp was 1:58 and 18 seconds. That's what they said. So
that was a
minute and 42 seconds left to get that picture. He got it done. He got a
24 something,
24 and some change right there at the end. Pretty dang heroic move right there with the wind and everything, dragging in the mud and everything, because we had some weird tides that morning. It dumped on us. It dumped on me over here, and it never came back in. It was supposed to be a high tide, but it turned around so fast that it didn't make it back. It didn't get a push. So it was weird. It was weird.
I think we were all push pulling ourselves in those kayaks through 6 inches of water, and fighting that wind, right?
Yeah, I had to scooch in the U-pick for sure. And I'm actually carrying a little less weight, so I'm about 22 pounds lighter than about 3 months ago, and it's definitely made a difference paddling and moving around in that kayak, like turning around and grabbing stuff. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Hopefully drop another 22. I'm gonna get back down to fighting weight, man. I want to be back in shape, dude. I've been on it. I've been trying to be on the wagon there. Gatorade Zero and water and no Cokes.
Get out and fish in some more of those windy conditions, and in that skinny water, that'll
dude, I know, it'll whoop your
butt, some calories too.
I know, man. It was, and the fish were stubborn that morning. We only had I think the moon, it's new moon today, because I had a rough time on the water today. I had 4 bites a day, put 2 fish in the boat, trout wise. Did lose a pretty good one, but I think our moon percentage is 5% on Saturday, It was kind of like a mid-morning bite, but the fish were stingy. They were spooky. They had them Halloween vibes, dude. I'm gonna tell you right now, spooky as hell.
Yep.
And they just, you had to get them to react. A lot of times I was just throwing a wake bait in front of them, just ripping it, trying to get them to do something. I think I threw it over 30 fish to get those 4 I had. It was rough.
I can't tell you how many fish I threw at. I
Yeah,
mean, we
y'all
had
had schools. See, I didn't even find schools. They were
had
all split
schools,
up
we
and
had
just like cruisers.
we had tails, we had crawlers, and every single time a lure hit the water, boom, they were gone. It was like, we were throwing them into the grass and pulling them out of the grass gently so that they just basically just trickled down off into the water edge, and even that would spook them and they were gone.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to you at one time, and you actually had a fish blow up on the popping cork, and like
he hit the cork.
Instead of the
lure. He hit the cork.
Because all those windy conditions, a lot of times you're drifting along, and it's just easier to just throw that popping cork and just get some noise out there and just try to get their attention. And then a lot of times, you might have a gulp, or you might have a skinny water shrimp on there with some scent on it, and you just, a lot of times that thing's just floating around and it's bouncing around with the wind action and the waves, and they hit it when it's just doing that, just floating around, and you just give it a pop every now and then just to kind of think there's a fish over there. It sounds like a toilet flusher, think there's a fish blowing up over there.
I really need a fish right now, so I'm going to find a windblown shoreline and throw a popping cork. Right.
Oh yeah, that's one of them last minute heroics. It's like,
okay,
dang,
we're going.
I'll do that every now and then, but most of the time I'm about throwing my wrist off, burning that wake bait every which way but loose, like fan casting the crap out that wake bait. Normally I can, I've pulled a couple last minute heroics with that thing, just getting a reaction out of that, or like a Z, like the bullseyes, the eye strike spinner bait, doing that and thumping it around, same thing. So man, it was just one of them days. I like the concept. I like the challenge of it. I like, because a saltwater event, you can have multi-species, you can have like a slam and all that. That's fun. But then, having to go and fish a lake you never fished, like Mike and Greg Hurt put a limit up too. He ended up finishing in third. I did organize the event. I just thought the right thing was to roll everything down. But I'm being a little more in the background next year, so we ain't rolling nothing down next year.
You put up some monster numbers, man. You put up some monster numbers. It's, it says something about, the both of you, right? Both of you guys being able to fish freshwater and saltwater competitively, within a 1 weekend, 2-day span, and put up some extraordinary numbers. I mean, that just shows like the time that you guys have put in, And so, and I appreciate all the tips everyone was dropping me, but it was fun. I had a lot of fun. It was unique. I look forward to the next one. I think for this being the first or inaugural, go with this, man. I think with the wind and everything, I think the way you put it together, the way you communicated, it was pretty seamless. And I think just at the captain's meetings and even afterwards when we were wrapping up, everyone was, everyone was had a good time sharing stories. And a lot of our, like the three of us fished different bodies of water, but we all, had similar situations with the fish, And just all that chatter going around was it was a good time, man.
Yeah, and that's what, that's that camaraderie that's part of it, because you had guys that like Jason Smith showed up. He saw it through some of the groups on Facebook, and he's like, yeah, he's normally just a bass guy, but he's like, man, I'm about to fish saltwater too, same, just like flip flop, but then it's like, it's a challenge, we had some people that kind of shied away because of the wind conditions and all that, but there's plenty of south shorelines on the coast to get away from the wind. Hell, we had Lisa Garcia actually ended up second, but she actually winning once we rolled things down. She actually won the event. Stoked on her for doing that. That was her first time using a tournament management app, like as a CPR event. She's done live weigh-ins and stuff like that. She had never used like a tournament management app to load her fish and do a tournament that way, which was pretty cool.
She tore it up, man. Every time I looked over, her arm was just a blur. It was like a hummingbird. She was casting, every which way. She deserved that win. She had talking a little bit about the saltwater side. She had a little bit of calamity that morning, getting going and everything, man. But you know, like Mike, you know, just keep grinding away, turning in that fish in the last minute. You know what I mean? It's so easy for, you know what, I'm just going to call it. I'm going to head back, you know. So I think everybody really just kind of
until the last minute. You never know what can happen, and that's a prime example of what happened with Mike. Put a fish on the board right there.
How many team tournaments have we done that, Dustin? I mean, just grind. Go. We got 5 more minutes. Let's push it 5 more minutes.
Pull another fish. It's happened more time than not.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. That's a mental thing. Stay mentally strong all the way to the last minute. You know, don't give up, and don't you just keep grinding.
Yep. And that's why I was talking. That's why I brought up that with Kevin. Him having that decent pre-fish the weekend before definitely helped his confidence levels and everything. And you know, he was able to come in and have a little confidence going into the day 2 of the event, you know. You know, and I just want to give I want to give a shout out. I really appreciate everybody that showed up. You know, we had some people, you know, a little skeptical of the wind, but you know, that's why we pick a lake with launches on either end of the lake. Or if it would have been this time of year, you never know it's going to be north, northeast. You can launch on North Park, south, southeast, south, launch on the south side. And that lake was fishable. The whole lake was fishable pretty much up until about 12. And then it really started getting after it. And you kind of had to find some protected areas, but it was still catching fish up until the last minute, man. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I got wet.
Oh yeah, you're crossing back across.
Crossing back across into the wind. Oh my God, I was soaking wet by the time I got
it was fun. But yeah, we want thanks to everybody that came out, and then thanks to all the support, you know, from Three Bells, PaddleN'FIn podcast, Catch, Duke and Nick over at Catch getting the trophies, Dwayne designing those for us and getting the Three Bells logo on there for the title sponsor there, and you know, getting them here in time, and everybody was stoked on the awards. Waterloo hooked it up. I know Lisa broke a rod on Saturday, so she ended up winning a rod. Kevin and Mike both end up walking away with reels, and Kevin won the other Salinity also. Got a full combo, got a pair of sunglasses. I mean, we got a lot of killer prizes. Lisa won the Orion Core 25. Big thanks to Jackson Kayak and Orion Coolers for donating that. I mean, we had a freaking spread, man. We had a spread.
Everybody walked away with something.
Raffle and giveaway, and that's how it's going to be next year. Next year we're going to have that. Already got a commitment on the on one of the individual leaderboards for like day 1 for the redfish. Waterloo's going to step up to the plate. We're going to have a first through third guaranteed payout, 250, 150, 100. That's guaranteed. That's separate from your entry fee. And then we're going to have a title sponsor for the day 2 leaderboard, which would be your best 5 bass, and it'll be the same thing, 250, 150, 100, guaranteed payout to the top 3. And then your entry fee would be your aggregate total, and then you'd have side pots. Next year, we will continue to have the big bass, and we'll have a spot pot, but we're also going to have a slob flounder division. We're going to have a saddle blanket division.
Yeah.
So we are going to have a flounder pot next year also. So we'll have 3 side pots. So I think that's going to be pretty cool.
The second redfish had 4 spots on his right side.
On his right side, yeah.
His right side.
Yep.
So we were only measuring from the left. I was like,
It's one of them deals, man. It's like, you know, you're just so used to measuring those fish with their left side up, with their, you know, facing away, facing to the left side up. It's just, you know, you don't want to get people in the habit of measuring the other way, and then they go to fish another tournament, and then they have fish DQ'd. You know, it's just one of them deals. You know, and then we kept the, you know, bass drop. There's a lot of fish. I mean, that fish, that lake, you can have like 50 fish days in that lake, and there's a lot of fish in the 12 to 15 inch range. Well, that's why we moved the minimum down to 12 inches. It was going to give everybody a chance to catch fish. I know I had quite a few people message me after the fact. They're like, dude, that tournament was rad as hell, dude. I know Eric Porter was stoked on it. Eric fishes. Eric's cashed quite a few checks on bass drop too, and he loves the salt water. So he's like, dude, I'm in that next year. You got to keep me posted. I said, well, it's going to be same time next year. October. Set it up. Good fall fishing for bass, and the redfish will be on fire, hopefully again. And we're going to have a good time next year. We'll have a lot of sponsors lined up again. I got a little more time to work on it. You know, I only planned this one about 3 months back. but we're going to have, just like this one, we'll have third-party judges through Paddle and Fin, the people who judge like the noobs tournament and stuff over on Paddle and Fin, and we'll have some stuff in store with that with some of our sponsors, and we're going to have a good time, man. I'm already looking forward to it. I'd like to do a whole series on it, maybe have a stop somewhere, just have a boundaries for the salt and then fresh, like on the Sabine River, have a day one, down around Sabine, Anahuac, redfish, and then fish the actual tidal fishery for bass the next day.
There you go. That'd be fun.
Yeah. And then say have a Rockport, Ranzas Pass, Corpus, and then fish Choke Canyon.
Yeah.
Then have like a middle coast, kind of Matagorda, Port Lavaca, Seadrift, Port O'Connor, and then fish bass trout. Has like a 3-stop. I don't know if I'll be able to handle all that, but we still definitely doing one next year. Let's try to get. We got the inaugural one out of the way. Let's try to get one more under the belt and then kind of see where it goes. I think I had a blast, man. That's all I know. It's
a good recipe, man. I think the recipe of the salt in the fresh water is you're definitely onto something there.
Takes people out of their comfort zone too.
Yeah.
And that's good for your fishing. That is good because you learn stuff, and there's stuff that you learn bass fishing that will translate and transition over to redfish, and there's stuff from the redfish side that will transition and translate to the bass side. So not only does it give you confidence in other things, but it does boost your knowledge. And then you learn stuff about fish that you might not have known. And, there's a little more to the bass fishing as far as reading maps and all that and studying lakes and learning their patterns and their seasonal patterns and what they're doing and everything. But I'm going to tell you right now, you can go and bass drop and throw a pink fluke all day and catch the crap out of them. I'll give that away.
That's what I was doing, and it worked for me. I just think that, you're right. You just learn, like I said, with being in a tournament and having a time limit and it just forces you really to improve your fish ability and be productive. And, it's like if, I always compare it to, if you leave your house and go for a walk, if you walk around the block every day, that's you do that because you enjoy it. But the moment you put a stopwatch into the equation, then you start measuring, like you want to be faster, you want to work on your time. And I think that's what leisure fishing versus tournament fishing, I think that kind of does that, and so not being a freshwater guy and entering this tournament, set those parameters for me to where I was, a little bit more aware of what was working, what wasn't working, and so it's, I took a lot. I didn't take a trophy away, finishing fourth and stuff, but what I took away is much more valuable for me and my growth and development and just talking with all of you guys and kind of hearing everything, was I look, like I said, I hope they continue, and I can share. There was a lot of people that didn't have any familiarity much with. I think someone caught their first redfish ever from a kayak, and sharing with them some of the stuff that I've learned and I've learned from you guys. It's a back and forth, folks, to really just let us have more time and more fun and more productivity, out on the water.
So
one more bass, a 17.5-inch bass would have put you up into third. Or one more redfish, even an 18-inch redfish would have slid you on.
Reds didn't want to cooperate, man. Like everything you guys were saying, I dealt with. I just picked an area that was. I didn't have much to work with. I probably could have got out and walked. 90% of the waters that I put myself in. Yeah,
I did. I was dragging the kayak.
Yeah.
And for me, I got out there on the bass drop, and it was 15 minutes in, I'm like, you're joking me. I've got this tide. Now I'm hooked on this. I'm snagged on this. I'm having tackle problems, right? Because I was late because GPS took me to some guy's driveway 15 minutes away to try to access the ramp, right? Because I put a pin drop on the ramp. And I called Dustin. I'm like, dude, I have no idea where I am. I'm coming back. I'll be there shortly.
Yep.
So everybody launched, and it was me. So I was late trying to put it together and get myself back in the game, get my head in the game and get going. And then the initial tackle stuff. And, when you go through all of that, I went to comfort fishing because I saw a couple bass in the slop where they were actually pushing up in the slop and in the mats, and their backs were coming out of the water. And I'm like, okay, that's all I needed to see. I'm throwing a frog. So I changed everything to a frog and throw a frog. I think it was like third or fourth cast, send it out there, and boom, big blow up, hits it, pulls it. I set the hook, and I had my drag backed off on my reels. And I had never tightened my drag because, I always loosen the drag. And, that fish, that was a good fish. That was probably one of the bigger fish that weight-wise that I felt all day long. But I lost 9 fish on bass drop just doing stupid stuff that I shouldn't be doing because I'm not bass fishing regularly.
Yeah, getting them to blow up through the mats and get a good hook set is tough at times. Yeah. You got to let them take it, depending on how thick the mat is, how aggressive they're feeding, and all that does play into the role there, big time. But yeah, man, that was a pretty cool event. I was stoked on everybody coming down. Another Jackson guy came down, Greg Hurt. Lisa Garcia won. Mike took second in spot pod. I got big bass. Greg Hurt got third. Kevin fourth. I go around the top 5, and then Jason Smith came in with a 5th place. Yeah, 5 bass. No, 4 bass. He had 4 bass. Didn't get his 5. Would have been.
You know what we also did competitor wise very well for this. We kind of all know each other through Facebook, right? Or through tournaments or through anything else, social media. And we were able to talk to each other and say, hey, I have no idea where I'm going to fish for redfish because I'm a bass guy.
Yeah.
Well, come on. You know what I mean? Bring it. Yeah. Let's go. Right. And I think that was really good because it's not like that normal tournament where you want to protect your spot, you want to protect everything. Go, you know what I mean? It was let's go, man. Let's go.
No,
I'm going to need all the help I need on freshwater. Right?
We had a couple other guys that were going to show up, but they just couldn't make it. We had one on the way back from the KBFNC, and then they had some stuff going on. Richard Penny and his son Jake, and they were going to fish, and I was just like, "Come on down with me. I'll put you somewhere, and y'all, just go blind cast this all down this bank, and you're probably gonna find something. Just put them in the right area. Just like you did with Dwayne. Dwayne actually, prayers go out to Dwayne Tapp and his family. He had some medical complications with his daughter. He couldn't make the day too. Thoughts and prayers for him and his family. And then man, it was just a cool little event. I appreciate everybody coming out. And then there's some other stuff going on. I'm just going to bring up some of this other jackhole stuff, man. Oh, Lord, here we go. Let's Dustin go on a rant. This isn't no spot burning rant. This is a rant about a tournament series that I don't know. I don't really know what to say, man. It's kind of, I might get too mad if I really talk about it. Okay, so there's this tournament series that's going to have a tournament in Keith Lake area, and they're going to set up at the Keith Lake launch with duck season going on.
Second weekend of duck season.
Second weekend of duck season, and then all of the marsh down there is blocked off with Elisa's. It's going to fish super small. Everybody's going to be stacked in Texas Bayou for one thing. So we signed up thinking we didn't know there was a mandatory meetup the morning of.
Hold on.
I'm on night shifts, so
you're on night shifts.
I'm on night shifts, so I can't
make
there anyways. But that's why I was just like, I'm on night shifts. When we get off work, we'll be able to fish, within 45 minutes, an hour of me, and we're fine. We're good. And then we'll just get off the water at noon and haul ass back, and we're good. I wouldn't, I'm not going to fish home waters, but I was going to fish somewhere closer, somewhere between Matagorda and Galveston. I wasn't going to fish over here. But, I was on night. So that was the whole deal. And then we was like, well, we can't do this. And then Mike questioned, the entry and then the meetup, and it was mandatory and all this and that. And then freaking this tournament director goes freaking ape shit. And then kicks us out of the group and says we're not in touch with the kayak community. I wish I had a screenshot. I'd share it and let people see this
I asked for clarification, and then it kind of escalated from there.
Yeah.
And I left it very simple, like, hey, Dustin and I can't make it then. If it's gonna be mandatory, Dustin and I spoke with Dustin, and we can't make it. And I asked for a refund, and it tailwinded from there. I mean, it entirely went spiral out of control, right? And we got thrown out of the group. And then there was a post made, and then there was a video made.
Yeah.
And then there were more posts and questions that popped up. And then
after the fact, then he opens it up to
it up to 70 miles.
70-mile radius now, and you don't have to check in. How about that? How about them apples? But
so
the
Terrell
thing that pissed me off the most was that post and saying that he called somebody, I guess he was referring to us, I don't know, calling us pot lickers, and he don't even have the definition of that right. No. A pot licker is when somebody comes up on you, you're already catching fish, and they're going to invade your area. But he referred to that, and then he kind of paired us in about not being disconnected from the community and compared us to those walleye anglers, which was like, what in the hell was he thinking? Right? Kevin's shaking his head. Kevin was part of the group.
It's unfortunate, man. It was unfortunate, man. When you run a trail series, and I get, man, there's, I would never even jump down that realm and try to take that on, because I understand there's a lot of behind the scenes and a lot that goes to it, right? But these guys aren't rookies when it comes to this, and I think it's unfortunate that every stop that they've had, this is the first one where they've done this. And I know you two guys, right? You guys love to fish, and you guys wouldn't have signed up for this if this would have been, if you guys were aware, right? And so,
if it was blatant, if it was told that this was a shotgun start and we couldn't make it, we would not have signed up for it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, that would have solved the whole issue, right? So I never would have grown from that.
Never would have grown from that. Insinuating we're scared to fish other bodies of water.
We fished
apparently
all over the place.
Damn, I went to Connecticut. I went to Okeechobee this year. I'm Gulf Shores. All these lakes. I do map studies and all this crap, and it's like, damn, dude. It's not like we're not in tune with the community and with fisheries and different areas. It's just like, man, it really struck a nerve, because he was like, well, we're in it for the sport, and we're in it for this and that. And I'm like, dude, I'm a host of a podcast. We got a platform too. I'm involved in the kayak fishing community with Jackson, and it's just like,
we share sponsors with him. I mean, it's what ate me
blows
up.
My mind.
What really ate me up was the way that it was responded to.
Yes.
And it was like, it didn't need to escalate to that. It was, hey.
And as a tournament director, he should have responded in a different way.
But he's got a track record. So he did this to Chris on the first one.
Chris.
And then he
Lewis?
Drew's brother, Chris.
Chris Turner.
Turner.
Yeah.
He did this to Chris. And then when Chris Lewis said something, he blew up and made a video about it. So Chris made a return video about it, right?
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is like kindergarten shit for a tournament trail, man, right? So it does not need to escalate to this stuff. It really doesn't, but
there's a lot of extracurricular banter that's really unnecessary. At the end of the day, you guys realized it was something, you signed up for something that really didn't fit your parameters, and rather than just saying, you know what, I'm glad we caught this before the day of and refunding your money. But I think all that was the way it should have gone down. But the extracurricular, putting a post, talking about the cheating walleye national scandal, and putting that in the same conversation with, we refunded a team, and talking about, judging, or criticizing their, this team's willingness or contribution to the sport. I think that was unnecessary.
let's make this clear. We haven't been refunded yet. Messages are being ignored, and I've sent Amex on them because I'm sick of chasing it. I got better shit.
There's some chatter around refunds in the past too. A little history.
Yeah,
with
we've
that.
heard of.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that was
yeah.
something in the past with some guy named Jonathan, right?
You know what, Jonathan was in there was a handful of them.
Or a handful. Yeah, you can't. You have to pay for the whole season, correct?
They had to pay the whole series up front,
and then they canceled one of the events during the season and didn't refund for that event. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean,
too. I'm gonna put that all in the past, right? Because it's all in the past.
I mean, we were going to try to start over.
But you know what gets me? This is where I think anybody that wants to take a tournament trail national and make this big event needs to understand that kayakers are not boats, right?
Exactly.
We are not boaters.
Right there.
The reason we fish like this is because we can launch anywhere. Yes. We spend more time keeping fish alive and dedicating our time to making sure that we have healthy fish for weigh-in, even after fishing all day and driving 2.5 or 3 hours.
And we're stopping and checking the fish.
We've got
all the time, changing water out when we can.
Live wells in the truck. We are pros at this, right?
Yeah. I got O2 on my live well on my kayak.
I think
we got it lined out.
The last couple of years, we've had 2 fish die in the live well. Everything else has died on the stringer before we even got to the live well, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we have a pretty good track record of keeping fish alive, but you can't group kayaks into a boat regiment. If you're going to do a shotgun launch, you need to have a body of water that's suitable for all kayaking types, and that's fine. If that's the rule, every kayak tournament has its own rules. If you want to have a shotgun launch in a location, have a shotgun launch in a location. People that like it will fish it. People that don't like it won't fish it. That's just the name of the game.
Just like Hobie and Bass and all that. Hobie don't allow motors. And if you don't not allow motors, then it's all good.
So I mean, but you can't group kayakers as boaters, and that is the biggest mistake that tournament trails make, because we have an entirely different skill set, and we have an entirely different way of approaching things than boats. And if you try to make us fit a mold, it doesn't work.
True.
And it actually is detrimental to fish health and to conservation.
Yep.
Because you're forcing people into this box.
I'm over here grinning because I think you guys need to get a little bit more fired up, man. No, that's I mean, it's what we do. Kayaking is not easy, right? And there's tournament kayaking is different. And you guys, we all understand that. I love the fact that you just had a tournament, Dustin, and you fish tournaments. You know what kayakers do, right? And until you're in those shoes, until you are leaving your house at 2 a.m. and launching at 4 a.m. and paddling miles and miles into the wind, pitch black, and then, doing everything right to keep those fish alive. And
until you walked in them
unless
shoes,
you're going through all of that. Yeah. It's really hard for an individual to set rules and parameters and say, listen, this is how we're going to do it. And this is going to work for you guys because this is what works for the boats. It doesn't correlate like that. You know what I mean? So I think I understand the passion, you guys getting fired up. I love it. But that's what we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we do. We're not boat anglers. We're not recreational kayakers. Like, we put in the blood, sweat, the tears, the financial component of it, the time, and it's different. It is different, and it's a lot deeper, and there's a lot more fabrics to what we do, I believe, as kayakers. And so I think that's why whenever we have these tournaments, I think that's why there's such that camaraderie, because we can look across at everybody. And kayakers, from my experience over the few years at these competitions, we're not like some of these other events where I see the boaters looking at each other sideways and doing this and that. We all understand what we went through to get there to that weigh-in, right? And we all share our stories and we chatter about it. And so, like I said, the whole thing is unfortunate. I think it could have been handled differently, but
sure.
Outside of us being friends, like, I don't think you guys did anything wrong. I don't believe any of that stuff. And the guys that know you know that you guys don't fall into that category. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Just irritating just to see that.
I guide, right? I write articles. everything that I'm involved with is helping people fish better and get better myself, right? Volunteering, time volunteer, hell, Dustin, I just volunteered to judge a online tournament for Heroes on the Water. We're active in this community to a much greater extent. And I think that kayakers, as well as boaters, boaters have a lot of stuff going on as well. We just have a different flavor, right? Because we're kayakers. We got a different flavor of the cuisine there. But in the end, we're all chasing the same thing, and we're all trying to be good human beings, stewards of the environment, and have a good time and challenge ourselves, right? So I think it's unfortunate. I think it escalated to the point where it didn't need to, and well, as far as I'm concerned, I have no desire to go fish the series. So I'm not gonna spend my money or sponsor money on the series. So that's the way it works.
Is what it is. Yep. If it would have been handled a different way, maybe it would have had a different outcome. Yeah. What kind of hat you got on there, Kevin?
Waterloo.
Oh yes, one of them waffle prizes.
No, this
pretty sharp right there. Or no, is that
I bought
different?
this one. I actually went into the store and bought this one.
Sweet.
I was doing some work down there in Victoria, and I swung in.
There you go. Go in there,
nice.
Jimmy and the guys. Yeah, big time supporters of the podcast. And myself, man, it's a great little company there. They got things lined out, man. They're gonna have a big sim showroom coming up. I'm gonna have some goods in there, man. They stocking up in there right now, getting ready to get it all ready to go by the end of the month. Hopefully, looking pretty clean in that shop. Lots of tackle, everything in there now. It's a full on tackle shop along with the custom rod building and everything else you can get in there. Pretty dang cool. But yeah, man, I know we kind of went off on a rant there for a little bit, but it just a little bit off my chest there, and get real and raw on that, because it's kind of struck a nerve. Yeah. So yeah, hey, I appreciate you guys coming on, recapping the Redfish Greenfish Smackdown. It was good times, man. I enjoyed all y'all coming out. I'm looking forward to next year already.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Like ready for real. Like get down and dirty again. Chase them. We just don't need that water to bottom out as much as it did. It made it a challenge, though.
I felt bad. I felt so bad for Dwayne.
Oh yeah, Dwayne's
got bad knees. He had knee replacement and surgeries on the other one. And we came back out of this little cove, and I'm like, oh crap. There was no water.
Where's the water? That happened to me coming back outside of a little marsh drain. I went back in this little back lake, and I was coming out, and there's a little point that comes across right there, a little sandbar. When I was coming back out of it, I was like, oops.
I was like, I'm sorry, man. I would have, we would have got somewhere.
Like I was stuck. There's no, and it's kind of soft, so it was like 50 yards of scooching.
Yeah, and all three of us run motors, right? So we always get humbled. We always get humbled in those moments when we got to scooch and cover all that water by paddle and drag. You know what I mean? And
I did a lot of mule kicking. And I did a lot of dragging on Saturday. And in the only deep pocket back in there, I hooked this 38, 39-inch black drum monster on a gulp cork.
You wasted 30 minutes on that.
20 minutes. I'm out there like, come on, for crying out loud.
I've been there before on tournament day, Yep. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Once again, guys, thank y'all for fishing the tournament. Thanks for everybody that supported it. And thanks to all the listeners out there in the podcast land that listens to this show here, Chasing the Tide. And if y'all get any ideas or anybody y'all want to be guests, y'all go to check the Facebook page, Chasing the Tide on Facebook, and drop us a message. Let us know who y'all want to see, or hit my personal account. Let y'all know who y'all want to see on the show, or if you want to come on the show, drop me a message. We'll just have a roundtable discussion like this. These are always cool to have, So, yep. Thanks, guys. We're going to wrap it up. Cue the outro. We out. Hang tight.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode here on Paddle and Fin. Be sure to drop a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, or smash that subscribe button on any platform you're listening in on. Be sure to check us out on Waypoint TV, waypointtv.com. Make sure you sign up for the Fantasy Kayak Fishing League at paddleandfin.com/fantasy. You can support this show through Patreon, patreon.com/paddleandfin. Don't forget to check out the website, paddleandfin.com. Catch us on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or want to see a future guest on the show, be sure to email us at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Shout out to our show supporters, Yak Gadget. You can check out all the fine kayak accessories at yakgadget.com. Pelican Professional. For all your cases, coolers, and lighting needs, go to pelican.com. Rocktown Adventures, your Midwest premier paddle sports destination. Go to rocktownadventures.com. Eastport Marina, the beautiful destination on Dale Hollow Lake. If you're looking for lodging, kayaks, kayak accessories, or anything fishing related on the beautiful Dale Hollow Lake, go to eastport.info. And Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and fill your tackle boxes today.